got to put the stool that I just turned to good use, I guess. All right, so I get asked from time to time from people who are looking to get into wood turning or who are kind of new to wood turning about tools they should purchase, some techniques that they should learn, and so on and so on. And instead of doing just a go buy this, this, and this, learn this, and have fun kind of video, I wanted to do a little bit of a twist with this and have some fun with it. So with that said, give me 1 second. Alright, so here is the twist to the video. What you are looking at is the very first lathe that I actually started using 8 years ago when I started turning bowls. Now my whole reasoning for this was I wanted to be a little bit more relatable because, I could have done all this on my Laguna 1836. However, not a lot of people start on an 1836. A lot of people start with something like this. This is a Harbor Freight 10 by 18 or central machinery midi lathe or benchtop lathe. So with me using the lathe that I very first started turning bowls with, I thought it was only fitting if I also use the tools that I started turning with, and that's what I have up front here. These are the same exact tools that I started with. I've kept them throughout these years because I thought they would be cool to keep and display later on. I'm using the very first chuck that I purchased. The only difference is my bowl gouge. This is not the very first bowl gouge that I purchased because I actually destroyed that bowl gouge. I wanted to turn it into an unhandled bowl gouge so I could get a longer handle, cut it up, and then realized I could not do that. However, this is the same exact bowl gouge that I did start off with. It's a Crown Tools, that's a tongue twister, Crown Tools 5/8 bowl gouge, and I have a swept back grind on it. But other than that, this is everything that I used when I started with. Also, with that said, I thought it was only fitting that we turn a bowl blank that I would have also started with. So give me 1 second. So what I have here is a 12-quarter black walnut bowl blank. Now, my very first time I turned, I used 2x8s to practice on to try to get the techniques down a little bit. And I remember the very first bowl blank that I purchased. It was from the local Klingspor woodworking shop in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. And now I don't remember if it was ambrosia maple or black walnut or both, but I do remember that was the very first place that I bought my nice bowl blank from once I felt comfortable turning something like that. So again, I thought it was only fitting that I use something that a person who is new to this would try to use, because you can get bowl blanks from places like Klingspor, Woodcraft, I believe Rockler. I know you can buy them on eBay. There's a lot of places you can get them from, and that is how I would have got my bowl blanks when I very first started off, because I did not have any knowledge of shopping around for logs or who to contact. So I just thought, hey, we're going to go all out and turn a bowl exactly how I would have done it 8 years ago. So anyways, let me get everything ready and we will get this bowl turned. So I've got the bowl blank mounted, everything is ready to go, and I just want to state this up front, that this is not going to be a how to turn a bowl video. It is more or less, why did I buy the tools that I did when I first started, and if you should buy them now, and things that I would potentially do differently. it's just more or less about where I started when I got into turning bowls. Now these tools are geared more towards bowls. You can use some of them for spindle turning, but when I started turning, I wanted to turn bowls, and that was really all I wanted to do. So, my knowledge in spindle turning is not as good as it is with bowl turning. But I just want to put that out there, put this up front, that I will be working on a how to turn a bowl video in the future, but this one's not that. This is more or less where I got my start. All right, so the first tool that we're going to be using today is my 5/8 bowl gouge. Now, what I use this tool for is to shape the outside, the inside, and to start the tenon, which we'll get to the tenon part whenever we get to it. With this, like I said earlier, I actually use unhandled bowl gouges now, and the only reason why is because I like turning larger pieces. And with the unhandled bowl gouge, I can choose the handle size, and I like bigger handles because I feel like it adds more stability when I'm turning a larger piece. However, I did not switch to unhandled bowl gouges until like 3 or 4 years into turning. So these are perfectly capable of doing 99% of what you want to turn. And honestly, they could probably turn everything that I've turned now with my unhandled, but it's just a personal preference for me. So, again, these things that I say today, they're not the end all be all. I highly suggest experimenting, testing out different tools and techniques to see what works best for you, because what might work for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So I just want to state that up front. But with that said, let's get this lathe on so we can get this bowl turned. Alright, well, the outside is mostly shaped, so once I'm done with the bowl gouge, which would be about this point in time, I will move on to my round nose scraper. Now, funny enough, I still use this technique, but at that point in time when I was turning, I didn't understand the difference between all the variety of cuts, like a shear cut, push cut, pull cut, so on and so on. But I did realize, in my experimenting, that I got a cleaner and better cut with a round nose scraper. And fun enough, I've stuck with that method or technique this whole time. And actually, I have the same exact round nose scraper that I still use to this day. This is my first one, and I've only had to purchase one other one, so I'm still using, I've only been through 2 of them, really. I haven't even been through 2 of them since I'm still using the second one. Right there, that's the one that I currently use, and you can see, same exact thing. Once I find something that I like, like a pair of pants, I like to stick with it. But yeah, so what I will do is get everything ready for the outside. I'll go here, go through the bowl, clean up the cuts, get everything shaped to the final design that I want. So let's get the scraper on here, get everything cleaned up into this final shape, and we can move on to the tenon. So what I have here is a recessed tenon cutter, and it's exactly what the name implies. It's a one-trick pony kind of tool, and it is one I do not use anymore. But like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm showing you what I did purchase and why I did. But with that said, let me show you how it works and get the bottom of this bowl finished up. Alright, well that's it. The recessed tenon has been cut, and that's all there is for this tool. Now like I said, I don't think I would really recommend this tool anymore. It was fun to use when I first was learning, but if I were to do it over, and then also this is my suggestion, that if you need to cut recessed tenons, I would highly recommend picking up a detail gouge such as this one here. To me, it's a lot easier to use. You get a lot cleaner cuts, and you can finesse it a little bit more of how you want the tenon to be cut. Also, it's a lot more versatile. I use this tool for beads and all sorts of detail stuff, which, you know, they're given that's the name of it, detail gouge. But it really is a lot more of a versatile tool, so you get your money's worth out of it. But with that said, let me get the banjo out of the way here so I can get some sanding done, and I'll explain more about that once I get my drill set up. Alright, so it is time to do some drilling. It's time to do some drilling, and we're not even drilling. It's time to do some sanding. It's been a long day, I'm tired. So it's time to do some sanding, and today I will be using a 3-inch pad with a cordless drill. Now, the reason why I didn't include the drill in the intro or the beginning with the rest of the tools is because I actually had a drill before I started turning, so you know, I figured I didn't really need to include that. However, if you do not have a drill and you need to buy one or would like to buy one specifically for sanding, I highly recommend getting a corded drill. There's more torque and more power behind a corded drill, and in my experience, they last a lot longer than using a cordless drill for that. Plus, they're a lot cheaper. I actually use a Black & Decker, I believe, or Craftsman drill with mine that I bought for like $30 or $40, and it has lasted for quite a few years now. And so with that said, let's get started. I will be starting with 80 grit sandpaper, working my way up to 120, then 240, and then 320, and then from there on I can flip the bowl around and we can start hollowing. So let's get the lathe back on and get some sanding done. So the bowl has been sanded up to 320 and it is ready to be flipped around. And there's one thing I want to mention that I did not show during the whole sanding process was that in between grits, I typically will wet down the wood with water or mineral spirits, and this time it was water. And all that does is help raise the grain, so that way you can get a smoother and, in my personal opinion, a cleaner finish. And it helps alleviate any more raised grain if, say, you're using this for a serving bowl or a salad bowl, because when you wash the wood, you know, the grain is going to raise either way. But to me, it helps alleviate some of that problem later on down the road. But with that said, I'm gonna get this thing flipped around and then I'm gonna call it a day because it's been hot out here, and we will get back on this tomorrow morning. Alright, so it is the next day and I've already got the bowl flipped around and ready to go, and all that's left to do is to start hollowing out the inside, and for that I'll be switching back to the 5/8 bowl gouge again. So anyways, let me get my mask on and get everything ready and we'll get some turning done. Alright, well, I feel like I have reached a pretty good stopping point with this bowl. Now, sometimes I will switch back over to the round nose scraper to clean up any mistakes and stuff like that, but I'm actually pretty happy with the cut that came off the gouge, so I'm going to stop and leave it at that. So all that's left to do is to get some sanding done, and I'll be doing the same steps that I did yesterday, starting at 80 grit and then working my way up to 320. So let me get my mask on so we can get that done and get some finish on this bowl. So the bowl is finished, and all that there is left is to take this thing off the lathe, sign it, and get some finish on it. So with that said, let me clean off this workbench so we can get that done. Alright, well, the walnut bowl is all finished, oiled up, and ready to go. And honestly, I had a ton of fun with this project, especially getting to use my very first lathe, which I haven't done in quite some time. But just to recap some of the stuff that I've talked about in this video, and again, this is more for people who are new to turning or have an interest in turning, and more specifically bowls. The three tools that I would recommend looking into is one, a 5/8 bowl gouge, and you can choose to go unhandled or handled. You know, it's a personal preference thing, and all unhandled means is that you can change out the tool handle, you know, different sizes for whatever kind of work you're trying to do. Second, I would look into a 3/4 inch round nose scraper, and those are great for cleaning up some of the tool marks left by a gouge, or they're also fantastic for trying to finesse different shapes and designs depending on the kind of work you're doing, and they can be used for spindle work as well, so they're very versatile. 3, I would look into a detail gouge. Now, I did not show that tool being used. However, you saw me use a recessed tenon cutter, which a detail gouge will do 100% easy work. And also the other tool that I did not show being used but showed in the beginning was a tenon cutter. And like the recessed tenon cutter, it is just a one kind of job tool, and it only cuts tenons. And that's why I recommend a detail gouge, is because you know, it can cut recessed tenons, it can cut tenons, and it can do a lot of other things, and can be also used for spindle work. So that's why I recommend it. You're getting one tool or many tools in one tool. Now, if you decide to go the traditional route with gouges and scrapers and that type of tool, you're going to have to look into some sort of sharpening system. Now, I personally use a Rikon slow speed grinder with the Wolverine jig set up. I bought this when I very first got into traditional tools. I figured it would be a good investment because I wanted to learn how to sharpen them, and you're going to have to learn how to sharpen them, but the jig makes that easy. There's many different types of systems you can choose from. I bought mine as a bundle, I believe from Woodcraft, and I've been using it ever since I bought it. The only change I've made on it is I changed out one of the standard wheels with a CBN wheel, and that's it. It's a fantastic system, but again, a lot of things like that or personal preference. You just got to look into what will work for you and your budget. But if y'all enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. And as always, I appreciate you checking this out, and I hope to see y'all next time.